Hello everybody, my name is Stephan Roman. I'm the author of a new book called Isle and Empires, which explores the 300-year relationship between the Russian imperial dynasty, the Romanovs, Britain and the Isle of Wight. I'm standing at the moment in front of St Augustine's villa in the seaside town of Ventnor, on the southeast of the Isle of Wight. You may be rather curious as to why I'm here. It's not a town that traditionally has any associations with the Romanovs with Imperial Russia. However, there is an intriguing and fascinating story about Ventnor and why it is connected with the Romanovs. Ventnor, for about 15 or 20 years in the middle of the 19th century, became the centre of a radical colony of Russian politicians, political thinkers, writers and poets, who all gathered here over several summers to debate, to argue, to frame new ideas about Russia and its future. This was in many ways an alternative Russia that grew up here in Ventnor. And the leader of that community for several years was a man called Alexander Herzen. He's often been described as the father of Russian socialism. He lived many years in Britain, in London, in Richmond-on-Thames and so forth, and he edited a journal called The Bell, which became a very famous journal of radical alternative thinking. He stayed here in this villa in Ventnor for several summers. He did not intend this to become a centre, but because he was so famous, it attracted many people around him. And so many Russian radicals, liberals, flocked here to Ventnor and to this villa, where he and his companion, Malvida von Meisenberg, would hold great liberal salons. I'm now going to read you an extract from my forthcoming book, Isle and Empires, talking about radical Ventnor and the role of Alexander Herzen in this. Herzen was sufficiently pleased with Ventnor to propose to his family that they return to Ventnor the following summer, this time for several weeks. They rented St Augustine's villa, an imposing mansion with commanding views of the sea. It still stands today in the centre of the town. His companion, Malvida von Meisenberg, wrote, "We rented a comfortable home on the ocean, and the wonderful sea air and charmingly beautiful coast revived our good spirits." The family occupied themselves that September of 1855 in swimming and taking long walks. Herzen, in a letter to the German political radical Rachel, writes that for 3 days the weather has been like June, and I have been bathing recklessly in the sea. However, he then complains bitterly, there were then 4 days of storms, rain and bitter cold, which didn't seem to have dampened his enthusiasm for Ventnor too much, because they would return for 2 or 3 more years. Following the 2 summers spent by the Herzen family in Ventnor, the word began to spread amongst the Russian exile community in England, amongst liberals in Russia, about the appeal of this seaside town. Here was a charming resort in a country which many of them admired, but also a place where intellectuals could meet and exchange views in safety and security. From the late 1850s, Russians began to arrive on the island in increasingly large numbers, and most of them headed directly to Ventnor. By the summer of 1860, Ventnor was akin to a Russian colony anchored in the English Channel. The entire resort was crowded with Russian visitors, and many of the hotels and villas available for rent were occupied by families from St. Petersburg and Moscow, as well as by exiles, Russian exiles living in England. In its weekly editions of August and September that year, the Ventnor Times recorded the comings and goings of the Russian liberal elite. You can imagine this was great vexation to the Tsars and also to the Tsarist secret police who tried to infiltrate the town at that time without much success. I'd like to thank all of my readers, those who've been following Isle and Empires, following on the social media, reading articles in the papers, newspapers and magazines about it, and just to let you know that you can pre-order the book from Medina Publishing, from their website, or the Medina Bookshop in Cowes, or from any reputable bookseller or library in the country. Thank you very much. Spasiba.